So hi everyone, I'm Keitki with Career Launch Australia, and today here I have with me Tanay, who is a recent graduate and just finished his master's degree. He's a mechanical engineer by profession, and secured his first professional job. Is in the workforce now, and we've had the privilege of working with him. So, firstly, welcome, Tanay, and. Do you want to share something about yourself? Which uni you graduated from, what your degree was, and what are you doing at the moment?
Yep, sure. So my name's Tanay. I'm a graduate engineer working at a medical devices company. So
Mm-hmm.
we're involved in the manufacturing of diagnostic medical devices.
Yeah.
I graduated from the University of Melbourne with a Masters of Mechanical Engineering.
Yeah.
And it's been 6 months that I've started work, so I'm enjoying it so far.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And obviously Melbourne University is one of the reputed universities to graduate from. And when you started to do your job search, a lot of the time graduates feel like they have a degree from university and they can get a job easily. But what was your experience, and why did you start working with Career Launch? What were some of the challenges that you were facing, although you had a good degree?
Yep. So I had a good degree from a very good university. I also had good grades, but I applied to a lot of jobs, but I never heard back, even for like online testing or even for a phone interview. So that's when I realized that I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine introduced me to Career Launch Australia.
Yeah.
And then once I started with working with Career Launch Australia, that's when I realized the things that I was doing completely wrong. And then I was able to make some changes, get some advice from Rajiv Bedse and his team,
Yeah.
and through that I was able to secure a great job.
Yeah, fantastic. I think it's a key point that you made, that you were trying a few things and then you realized that that was wrong. So a lot of the time, as students or as fresh graduates, there are programs on universities on the campus for resumes, or consulting with a counselor, which you went through as well, and that's definitely helpful. But I guess, what were some of the techniques that you learned from Career Launch, beyond just your resume or your cover letter, that really helped you or sped up the process for your job search?
So firstly, there are quite a few services at university, but I felt that the people who were working there, or just the service itself, lacked knowledge about the industry
Mm-hmm.
and sort of lacked connections with industry.
Yeah.
So when I went there and presented my resume and my cover letter, everything was okay. But obviously it wasn't, because when I went to apply for a job, I didn't hear back at all. So there was obviously something lacking that the career services weren't able to help me with.
Yeah.
So when I started working with Rajiv Bedse, I realized that I was approaching the situation from a job seeker point of view, and I wasn't actually presenting my own experience in the right way. And I think whilst when I started working with Rajiv Bedse, I just felt that my mentality and my mindset changed,
Yeah.
and I felt as though I was applying to positions, knowing that I have something to offer them, and not just the company offering me something.
Yeah.
In this case, a job. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a key point, actually. One of the things I know Career Launch definitely stresses on is being a problem solver. So, now in terms of, you mentioned you started to apply, and the mindset shift happened. And you also, I know through the experiences, is that you started to connect with a lot of different people. So, recruiters as well as employer connections. So, can you talk a little bit about that? How does that help you to really access, some of the hidden job market in Australia?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because a lot of the jobs that are available are actually not advertised. I think there's only about 10 or 15 or 20% jobs
Yeah.
available are advertised on Seek or some of the major websites. However, when you do apply to them, they each get about 700 applications, 800 applications. So it's very hard to get through and secure that one role.
Yeah.
So with Rajiv Bedse, I realized that there's a hidden job market, and I could actually access that through cold calling recruiters, building connections on LinkedIn, as well as networking with other professionals who are in the same industry. And I felt that that helped me a lot, and I was able to secure interviews just solely based on those methods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, that's a very interesting point as well, Tanay. I think a lot of the time people apply and then they don't hear anything back, and that leads to a lot more frustration, and you start thinking negative that you're not really going to get a position. But I think some of the techniques you mentioned have been helpful. Now, you know, as a student, there's a mindset of, you know, why should I invest in myself in order to, or coach myself in order to get my first job? Because my first job, anything's okay, right?
Yeah.
So what would you recommend, you know, other students or other graduates who are really looking for a job in their field of expertise, that why is investing within yourself or in a coaching program, why is that important, and how has that really benefited you?
So at university, we learn theory about a particular field, and that's about it. But we're never sort of taught the soft skills, nor are we taught how to apply for jobs, how the job market works. It's a very theoretical approach at university. But however, when you start working with career consulting services like Career Launch Australia, you realise that there's more to job seeking than just what's being taught at university. And your university degree doesn't hold as much of a value as your entire personality and your well-roundedness. And I felt that when I started working with Rajiv Bedse, I realized this, and when I did start working with him, I felt as though I could highlight more of my personality than just what's being taught at university.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. And you know, through the coaching, you had multiple coaching sessions, and you went through the program. You know, what do you feel is sort of the one thing or the one mindset or the one tip that really blew your mind or really created that result for you?
Like I said earlier, I think it's the approach. Once I could make that change in the approach, in my approach, I could really see results. So it's not just about a resume or a cover letter. It's the entire job search. So it's right from calling the recruiter, making connections, having the right resume, having the right skill set presented to your employer, being able to answer some really tricky interview questions, managing relationships after your interviews. I felt as though that really helped me, and I could come across as a more professional person rather than, as opposed to when I started my job search. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, what was the time frame? So, you know, once you started working with Career Launch Australia, what was the time frame within which you were able to secure a job?
So I think after 5 weeks or so, I was able to secure an interview. A couple of interviews actually, and then 2 weeks later, I was actually made an offer. So about 7 weeks, all up, I was able to secure a role that I really like.
And you know, one of the I guess one of the banners of Career Launch is you know, earn what you're worth. And as a graduate, sometimes you're hesitant to negotiate the right compensation when when you do get an offer. You just want to grab the one that comes to you. So I know you went through a process where you actually negotiated and you know, got the right compensation that, you know, is suitable for your job title. So you know, how were the tips from Career Launch? How did that help you to make sure that you actually got an offer that you were happy with?
Well, Career Launch really helped me believe in myself. I know a lot of graduates would just accept the offer they're given. So I was offered 2 roles initially, and through Rajiv Bedse's help, I was able to negotiate a higher salary and higher pay for a job that I really wanted. So Rajiv Bedse helped me with that, helped me believe that I'm worth more than what's just been offered on the table. And I'd recommend it to anyone.
Fantastic. You know, it's so lovely talking to you, Tanay. Thanks for sharing your experience. You know, I'm sure if you're a student or a graduate, you know, this will help you for sure. And if you're looking for that perfect job to launch your career, we just wanted you to benefit from Tanay's experience. So thanks so much, Tanay, for spending that time with us, and we'll talk to you soon.